Today is Tuesday, April 21st, and this is our read aloud for Out of My Mind. The last time we left off, Melody just won the informal Whiz Kids classroom round of questioning, in which she scored a perfect and nobody in her class could believe it and thought that she actually cheated. Let's all give Melody a round of applause. Everybody except maybe Molly and Claire clapped as I rolled slowly to the front of the room. The sound of my chair's motor whirred softly. They couldn't hear the sound of my thumping heart. I figured the teacher offered me the candy to stop Claire and Molly and to make me feel good that I accidentally got all the questions right. But it was no accident. I knew them all. Every single one. Mr. Dimming placed the candy bar on my tray. Good. At least I wouldn't have to worry about dropping it in front of everybody. I rolled back to my place with my head down. I'm so proud of you, and you should be too, Catherine whispered, holding her hand up for me to slap, but I didn't move. Not, I typed. Why not? You beat them all. It took me a very long time, but I typed. They think my brain is messed up like the rest of me. I felt like crying. Then we'll just have to study and show them they're wrong, Catherine said, a hint of defiance edging her voice. Why? I asked. So you can be on the quiz team, she told me. Never happen, I tapped. Just as Catherine was about to reply, Mr. Dimming announced that the official tryouts for the quiz team would be held in 1 week. Many of you scored quite well on this practice round, he said. But remember, you will have to compete against the 6th grade students as well for the real competition. Go home and study. Only the best will be chosen. Like me, Connor yelled. If you qualify, Mr. Dimming told him. I'm taking a winning team to Washington, D.C. this year, class. Are you with me? Yeah, they all yelled. I was amazed they'd get excited about studying for anything, but he rallied them like a football coach. Are you willing to study so we can be on television? Oh, yeah. You gonna buy a new suit if we win? Connor blurted out. Mr. Dimming actually laughed. That's a promise. A new suit, maybe blue with the red satin vest. The whole class broke out in laughter and applause. Then let's do our very best, Mr. D said. I'm going to create extra challenging questions so that we will be stupendously prepared this year. Well, he's already starting with the big vocabulary words, I heard Molly whisper to Claire. Hard questions? Connor whined. Look at it this way, Mr. Dimming told Connor. If Melody Brooks can win the first round, then my questions must not be difficult enough. We're all going to rally to win the competition. Everybody cheered, except me. I'm going to pause for a moment out of our read aloud and think. Why do you think that Melody was not cheering after what Mr. Dimming just said to the class? Think about that. Chapter 18. After school that day, I was grumpy and mean. Mrs. V had prepared a new stack of word cards for me. Penny was wearing one of Mrs. V's turbans, and she looked ridiculous. Plus, she kept singing some dumb baby song at the top of her lungs. I took my arm and swept the whole pile of cards to the floor. Who put salt in your Kool-Aid, Miss Thing? Miss V asked. She did not pick up the cards. Penny stopped singing and stood there blinking at me. I switched the meta-talker to off and looked away. Fine, be like that, but you're going to pick up every single one of those cards. I stuck out my lip and stared at the wall. Penny reached out and shook my arm. I tugged it loose. She didn't seem to care and started singing again. Happy, 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 clap your feet. Happy, sappy, plappy, blow your nose. Biddy, body, bowdy, jump and jump. She jumped, she stomped her feet, then she sang the song again. And again, and again. She was really getting on my nerves. I wished she would just stop. Talking all the time, walking all the time, jumping and bouncing and singing. Just quit it. For one moment, please stop. But she wouldn't. Hi, Dee Dee, she said. She put Doodle on my tray. I pushed the toy to the floor. Doodle? Dee Dee? She picked up this stupid raggedy thing and placed it on my tray once more. I knocked it off again. Leave me alone, I wanted to scream. Penny was used to things falling off my chair, so she couldn't know I was being just plain horrible. The third time she put Doodle on my tray, I swept it off with such force that my arm brushed Penny's head. She toppled over and fell to the floor. She looked at me, surprise on her face, grabbed Doodle and ran to Mrs. V in tears. What's gotten into you, Melody? Mrs. V asked as she rocked Penny on her lap. How could I explain? I didn't want to cry, but I did. I turned my wheelchair so it faced the wall just as the phone rang. Mrs. V looked from me to the phone, sighed, and got up to answer it. Oh, hello, Catherine. Catherine? I turned my chair slightly to listen better. Out of sorts? Mrs. V asked. Well, as a matter of fact, she does seem a little mopey this afternoon. No, I take that back. She's downright monstrous. Mrs. V caught my eye and made a funny face at me, and I just glared at her. I'm not surprised she got all the questions right. The child is brilliant. A lot of good it does me. The teacher said what? Great. Now everybody would know. Just thinking about it made me feel like pond scum again. In front of her classmates? What kind of professional is he supposed to be? Mrs. V looked furious. How did she react? Never mind, I already know. She's sitting here looking like one of those blowfish we saw at the aquarium, all puffed up and spiny. That's actually kind of accurate and close to how I feel. Thanks so much for calling, Catherine, Mrs. V said. Yes, please call her parents this evening, and I'll be sure to talk to them as well. I'm going to work on this problem right now. With that, she hung up the phone, set Penny down on the floor, put her hands on her hips, and turned to look at me. I figured here's where she hugs me and makes me feel better. So, you aced the quiz and then bombed the follow-up? She said to me in indignation, decorating her words. She flipped my talker back on. Why did she sound mad at me? I looked up in surprise. He hurt my feelings, I answered. So what? Mrs. V spat back. Kids laughed. Even Rose. It was true, though I could hardly admit it. Even Rose had covered her mouth to stifle a laugh. Did you get the highest score in the class? Mrs. V asked, completely ignoring my attempt to make her feel sorry for me. I should have known better. Yes. Did Catherine help you in any way, even a little bit? No. Then let's get started. I looked at her, a little confused. Started on what? I asked. On your study plan. You and I are going to practice, prepare, and push. I am going to quiz you, and you are going to answer. We're going to learn geography, science, math, thousands of glorious tidbits of information. She sounded excited. Why? I asked carefully. You know how athletes get ready for the Olympics? They swim early in the morning and late at night. They run around the track for hours and hours without a crowd to cheer them on. I can't run very fast, I typed. Then I grinned at her. Maybe not, but you've got the fastest, strongest brain in that school, and you are going to try out for the quiz team next week. They won't let me be on the team, I typed slowly. Oh, yes, they will. They'll want you, all right. They'll need you, Melody. You are going to be their sacred weapon. You think? I know. Now let's cut out all this fake feeling sorry for yourself stuff and get started on studying. We have 1 week. I'm the coach, and you're my athlete. Get ready to sweat. Sweat stinks, I told her with a laugh. So let's get stinky, she said. But first, you're going to pick up every single one of those cards. I knew not to argue. She took me out of my chair, set me on the floor, and left the room while I pulled the cards that I'd knocked down into a messy pile on the floor. Penny helped. Then Mrs. V put me back in my chair, and we got to work. She was going to be a tough coach. How is the test set up? She asked me. A, B, C, D, I tapped. Multiple choice? Wonderful. Piece of cake for you.